Welcome back to the deep dive. You've sent us, well, a really fascinating stack of material, articles, research, your notes, all trying to make sense of the maze of international university admissions.
hmm
It's an exciting path, isn't it? Thinking about studying abroad. But it can also feel, quite overwhelming, just figuring out where and when to even begin.
It really can.
So today we're not just scratching the surface, we're taking a proper deep dive into the material you've gathered, specifically looking at global university intakes, those really crucial start dates.
Right.
And then we'll pull out some of the fascinating differences in academic systems, the philosophies, really across the globe. Our mission here is to unpack the timings and the underlying ideas that shape your educational journey.
Exactly. We want to distill what truly matters for your choices.
We've synthesized everything you've provided and, well, quite a bit more to try and give you that holistic view.
Our aim here is, hopefully, to bring some real clarity. Clarity to the strategic decisions you need to make when you're planning international studies, helping you align those choices with what you really want to achieve.
Okay, let's really break this down then. Let's start with something fundamental. What exactly do we mean by intakes, in this international education context?
Good place to start.
Because it's not like here, maybe, where there's just one fixed academic start date. Universities abroad often offer multiple times during the year for new students to jump in. It's definitely not a one-size-fits-all kind of thing.
That's exactly right. And, it's not just about making it convenient for you, the student, although that's part of it. Universities offer these multiple intakes for, well, strategic reasons too. Just think about the sheer volume of applications top universities get every year. It's huge. Offering different start dates helps them manage that flood of applications more effectively. They can accommodate more students overall, and it gives people alternative entry points. Maybe you missed an earlier deadline, or maybe your personal timeline is just different.
So it adds flexibility into their system.
Precisely. A crucial layer of flexibility.
Okay, so practically speaking, when can you actually start? Globally, we generally see three main intake periods. Understanding these is probably your first big step. The first one, and it's definitely the most popular, is the fall or autumn intake. This usually kicks off in late August or September, and the first semester typically wraps up around December.
Yeah, that's the big one.
This is the main admission time for so many top study destinations. Think the US, the UK, Canada, Ireland. What you generally find here is the widest range of courses and programs available.
That's a key point. More choice.
And often more scholarship money floating around, more chances for on-campus jobs, especially assistantships, which can be really valuable. But the flip side, it's also the most competitive intake. Everyone's aiming for fall, so acceptance rates can be lower.
Definitely more competition.
Then we shift gears to the spring or winter intake. This one usually gets going in January and finishes up in May. It really serves as a vital secondary option.
It's great for people who need that extra time.
Exactly. Maybe you missed the fall deadlines, or you needed a bit more time to get your applications polished, maybe even needed some extra language prep.
Right.
Now, the course options might be a bit more limited compared to fall. Not every single program will open up for spring admission, but the competition can be lower.
Which can be a big plus.
And class sizes are often smaller. That last point, that can actually be a huge advantage. It might mean a smoother cultural integration, more personalized attention. You get to settle in without that huge initial rush.
And I'd add that smaller class size in spring can sometimes mean more direct interaction with professors too.
Yeah.
It fosters a slightly different learning dynamic. It's a subtle benefit, but it's there.
Good point. Finally, there's the summer intake. This is a shorter deal, usually running from May to August. It's less common for international students starting full degrees.
Yeah, not usually for bachelor's or master's.
You'll typically find it used for specific diploma programs, maybe shorter certificate courses or intensive language studies. Competition is low, but again, it's generally not where you'd kick off a multi-year degree program.
Which leads us to something people often underestimate. The planning time needed.
Oh, definitely.
It's not just about picking a month, is it? Whichever intake you're aiming for, fall, spring, even summer, you absolutely must start your research and applications way in advance.
How far ahead are we talking?
Ideally 10 to 12 months beforehand. Seriously. For instance, if you're targeting a fall intake in the US, many top universities have application deadlines between November of the previous year and maybe February of the intake year itself.
Wow, so almost a year before you'd even start classes.
Exactly. If you miss those deadlines, You've basically missed your shot for that entire academic year. There's no wiggle room.
Okay, so timing is critical. Now, here's where, for me, it gets really interesting. Because these intake periods, they aren't just about seasons. They can vary a lot by country, and sometimes even by the specific university within a country. Academic calendars are certainly not the same everywhere.
Oh, absolutely not. It's quite diverse. If we look at Europe, for example, when the academic year begins, varies quite a bit.
Okay.
You've got about 6 systems, mostly the Nordic countries, plus Estonia and Switzerland, where the academic year officially starts in August. Though actual teaching in Switzerland might kick off a bit later, maybe September.
Right.
But the vast majority of European countries, we're talking 20 systems, start their academic year in September. That's the most common.
September sounds familiar.
And then you have another group, 13 systems, often in Southern and Eastern Europe, that start in October. But what's pretty common across most of Europe is the 2-semester model.
Yeah.
That structure is fairly standard.
Interesting. What about other parts of the world? Asia, for instance.
Asia provides a really fascinating contrast. Take Japan. Their main intakes are spring, starting in April. And this is often the primary one for undergraduate and master's degrees because it aligns with their fiscal year.
Oh, the business calendar influences the academic one.
Exactly. It's the start of their government and business budgeting cycles, so it makes sense for new academic programs to launch then too. Then they also have a fall intake, usually September or October, which tends to be more common for postgraduate programs or those taught entirely in English.
Okay.
And just as a specific example, Korea University has its spring semester starting March 4th and its fall semester kicking off August 21st. So you see, the dates can be very specific. You really need to check each university.
So it's not just a generic spring or fall in Asia. It could be April, it could be March, and sometimes even the country's financial calendar plays a role. That's a really subtle but important point from the materials.
Precisely. And then if we hop over to North America, the US and Canada, they mainly stick to that big fall intake in September. They also have a pretty robust secondary spring intake in January.
Yeah.
And as we mentioned, some limited summer options.
And down under, Australia, New Zealand.
Oceania, yeah, Australia and New Zealand, they're a bit different again, partly because their seasons are reversed from the Northern Hemisphere. Their main intake is actually in February.
February, okay.
And the application deadlines for that February start are usually way back in October of the previous year.
Wow, need to plan ahead there too.
Definitely. For Australia specifically, their semester 1, which starts in February, tends to have more course options and, you guessed it, higher competition. Semester 2 starts later, around late July or early August. It might have fewer courses available, but potentially less competition. And they even have a less common November intake, which lines up with their summer, another possible entry point for some niche programs.
So what's absolutely crystal clear from all this detail, and it's a huge takeaway from the information you've pulled together, is that because of all these national variations and even differences within countries, you simply have to check the specific calendars for the actual institutions and programs you're interested in. There's just no single rule. Assuming anything could mean you miss out entirely.
You absolutely cannot assume. Check, double check, and check again.
Right. So, okay, we've talked dates, calendars, deadlines, but what does this all mean beyond just the timing? Let's shift gears a bit and explore the deeper cultural and academic philosophies, how things feel different. Because starting in September in the US might be a radically different experience from starting in October somewhere in Europe, right?
Oh, completely different worlds, potentially. And this really brings up a crucial question for you, the listener, to think about. What kind of learning environment are you actually looking for?
Yeah.
U.S. universities, generally speaking, tend to lean more towards a practical, maybe job-oriented academic approach. There's often a greater emphasis on projects, internships, applied learning, getting hands-on experience.
Okay, more career focus from the start.
Often, yes. And professors are frequently seen as very helpful, very student-focused. They hold regular office hours, acting almost like mentors in some cases.
Yeah.
The structure might involve big lecture classes in the early years covering broad basics, then shifting to smaller, more discussion-heavy seminars later on as you specialize.
And Europe? How does that compare?
European universities, again, generalizing because it is diverse, often provide a stronger theoretical foundation. The focus might be more on the scientific principles, the core concepts.
More theory, less immediate application.
Sometimes, yes. The rigor is often in the depth of understanding the why, not just the how. Exams, for instance, can be notoriously tough.
Oh.
Yeah, sometimes requiring really in-depth theoretical proofs, not just solving a practical problem. And professor interaction might feel a bit less hands-on. Students are generally expected to be more self-reliant, more independent in their learning, almost like junior researchers from the get-go. But what's really fascinating, and this is a key insight that comes up a lot, is how some of these European systems, even with their tough exams, often produce graduates with this incredibly strong foundational understanding. It allows them to adapt, to innovate across different fields later in their careers, not just apply skills they learned for one specific job. It's kind of a long game approach to education.
That's a really interesting perspective. What about the cost? That's always a huge factor. The materials you gathered definitely highlighted some big differences there.
Oh, stark differences. U.S. universities are, well, famous for their significantly higher tuition fees. It's often said it can cost what someone earns in a year just for 1 year of study. It's a massive investment up front.
Yeah, the sticker shock is real.
It is. In contrast, European universities generally have much lower tuition. Sometimes it's even free, especially for EU citizens, but often very low for international students too.
Like where?
Well, in Germany, for example, you might just pay administrative fees, maybe around 200 per semester. In Denmark, public university can be entirely free, and some students even get a government stipend to help with living costs.
Wow. Free plus a stipend.
Can happen. Poland typically just charges nominal application fees. However, and this is important, you have to look at the total cost of attendance. While U.S. tuition looks incredibly high, a closer look at financial aid scholarships, grants, assistantships often reveals that the actual amount many students pay, the net cost, can be significantly lower than that scary sticker price.
So aid makes a big difference in the U.S.
A huge difference. Conversely, in Europe, while tuition might be low or free, the cost of living in major cities like Paris or Munich or Copenhagen can be surprisingly high. Rent, food, transport, it all adds up, so it's not automatically cheap just because tuition is low. You need to budget carefully for living expenses.
Good point. It's the whole picture, not just the tuition line item. What about the exam systems? You mentioned they can be tough in Europe.
Yes, and they really highlight different philosophies. Your notes pointed this out well. In some European countries, like Germany, the system can be incredibly strict.
How strict?
Well, if you fail a core module, say 3 times, that's it. You can be exmatriculated.
Exmatriculated? What does that mean exactly?
It means you're essentially expelled or permanently dismissed from studying that specific subject anywhere in the entire country.
Wow. Nationwide. For failing one course 3 times.
For certain core required courses in some fields, yes. It's incredibly high stakes. Now, contrast that with systems like, say, Italy, where exams might be repeatable multiple times until you get a grade you're happy with, or Russia, where even if you are exmatriculated, you might be able to reapply later, perhaps with some fees.
That's a huge difference in pressure.
Massive. And the underlying philosophy is interesting. You could argue the stricter systems foster extreme seriousness and effort, ensuring only the most committed succeed, maintaining high standards. The more flexible systems offer more chances, reduce maybe some anxiety, but perhaps might allow some students to be less diligent initially, knowing they can retake. It really forces you to consider what level of academic pressure are you comfortable with? What kind of safety net, or lack thereof, suits your learning style?
That's a very personal calculation. Okay, last big comparison point. Campus life, the overall experience.
Right. The U.S. university experience is often described as very immersive.
How so?
They tend to have these extensive self-contained campuses. Think dormitories, multiple dining halls, huge sports facilities, student unions. Everything is right there. This fosters a really strong university identity, a vibrant social life that pretty much revolves around campus activities.
Like a bubble, almost.
Yeah, it can feel like a distinct college years phase, kind of separate from the outside world. A real campus community.
And Europe.
European universities typically integrate much more with the city they're in. Students often live off campus, finding their own apartments or shared flats scattered around town.
More independent living.
Definitely. The university itself is seen primarily as the place for academic work, lectures, labs, libraries, rather than an all-encompassing lifestyle hub. The social scene might be more spread out, blending into the city's cafes, bars, and cultural life.
So less of a distinct campus bubble.
Generally, yes. And the transition from being a student to starting work often feels more gradual, less of a sharp break, because students are already living and navigating within the wider city community.
Okay, so we've covered intakes, calendars, costs, teaching styles, exams, campus life. Quite a lot. After exploring all of this, how does someone actually decide? How do you decide your path? It seems very clear there isn't one single better way.
Absolutely not. There's no best choice overall. It completely depends on your individual circumstances, your goals, what you hope to get out of this experience.
So what are the key things someone should be weighing up?
Okay, when you're choosing both your intake and your destination, there are several crucial factors to really think through. First, your academic readiness. Are you truly prepared to start right away? Or do you realistically need more time, maybe to prep for applications, study for entrance tests, or sort out your finances? Be honest with yourself.
Right. Self-assessment first.
Second, program availability. Is the specific course you're passionate about actually offered in all the intakes at the universities you're considering? Remember what we said. Spring intakes, for instance, can sometimes have more limited options for certain degrees. Don't assume your dream program starts every semester.
Check the details for your specific course. Got it.
Third, think about your personal and professional commitments. Do you have things going on already, maybe a job you need to wrap up, or family responsibilities that might make starting mid-year, say in spring, actually more convenient or flexible for you?
Life outside academics matters too.
Absolutely. And fourth, the visa and documentation timeline. This is huge. You must allow plenty of time for visa processing. It can be a really lengthy, sometimes unpredictable process, no matter which intake you choose. Don't leave it to the last minute.
Okay, visa time is non-negotiable.
Non-negotiable. Then fifth, really consider your learning style and preferences. We talked about this a lot. Do you thrive with lots of structure and support, knowing professors are readily available? Or do you prefer more independence, a deeper dive into theory, driving your own learning?
US versus Europe? Kind of.
Broadly speaking, yes, though there's variation everywhere. Also, think about the environment. Do you want that campus-centric experience where the university is your whole world for a few years? Or do you prefer being integrated into a lively city from day one?
Campus bubble or city life.
Exactly. And finally, of course, the financial situation. Meticulously evaluate the total cost implications: tuition, fees, living expenses, travel for different systems and locations. Look beyond just the headline tuition fees.
Get the full financial picture.
Definitely. It's worth noting, too, that for many students coming from places like India, for example, that September intake often ends up being the most popular choice.
Why is that?
Well, it usually aligns really well with when they finish their secondary schooling. And as we touched on, it can often offer better opportunities for things like research assistantships or teaching assistantships and other on-campus jobs, because many professors like to start new projects at the beginning of the main academic year. So it's about finding that practical alignment too.
That makes sense. Finding the fit. Okay, so let's just briefly recap what we've covered in this deep dive.
Good idea.
We've explored how university intakes, those start dates, are structured around the world. We looked at the really diverse academic calendars across different continents, and we delved into some pretty profound differences in educational philosophies, especially comparing places like the US and Europe. Understanding all these nuances, from when courses are available and how much competition there is, to the different teaching styles, exam pressures, and the overall student experience, it's all vital for making a choice that's right for you.
Absolutely. And ultimately, the best path forward for you isn't about just following the crowd or automatically picking the university with the highest ranking on some list.
Right.
It's really about understanding your own learning style, figuring out your career aspirations, and knowing what kind of academic community, what kind of environment will best support your personal growth. It's about making it a truly informed choice, one that genuinely aligns with your unique journey.
So maybe a final thought for reflection as you weigh these options.
Yeah, maybe consider this. Is the best university simply the one that looks best on paper? Or is it the one that will genuinely challenge your assumptions, maybe reshape how you think, and ultimately help you discover a version of yourself you didn't even know existed? That transformation might be the real prize.
That's a powerful thought to end on. All the best with your planning and decisions. And we will meet again with another important subject in the next meeting.